Picture this. It's 2,500 years ago. Deep in a forest grove, a nun is sitting in meditation, totally still, but she's not alone. There's this shadow looming, a whisper of doubt, a little pull of desire, a sudden wave of fear. This is the story of 10 incredible women and their battles, not with some monster out there, but with the adversary that lives inside all of us. Okay, let's get into it.
But before we jump back in time, let's make this personal for a second. What are your inner demons? You know that voice in your head that says you're not good enough? Or the constant distraction that pulls you away from what you're trying to do? Maybe it's a memory that just pops up and brings that pang of sadness. Just hold that thought, because you're about to meet 10 masters of spiritual self-defense.
All right, so in these ancient Buddhist stories, we've basically got two main players. On one side, you have the adepts, the Bhikkhunīs. These are fully enlightened nuns who've reached this incredible state of peace and wisdom. And on the other side, we have the adversary, a figure called Māra.
Now, it is so important to get this straight. Māra isn't some cartoon devil with a pitchfork. Not at all. He's really the personification of our own mental blocks. He is the voice of temptation, the fog of confusion, the heavy weight of despair, basically everything that gets in our way. And these nuns, well, they have totally got his number. So, how does Māra operate? What's his game plan? Well, his first and probably his most common tactic is to go for the low-hanging fruit, the temptations of our senses. He tries to yank the mind out of its focus and drag it right back into the messy, chaotic world of everyday pleasures. So let's look at our first showdown, featuring the nun, Alavika. She's meditating, and Māra shows up and whispers this poison right in her ear. He's basically saying, hey, what are you doing? This whole spiritual thing is a waste of time. There's no escape. Get out there and enjoy yourself. You're going to regret this later. I mean, it is the ultimate FOMO, the fear of missing out. But Alavika, she doesn't even flinch. And her reply is just brilliant. She doesn't argue with him. She doesn't deny that pleasure exists. She just reframes it. She says, that thing you're calling delight, for me, that's actually the opposite. It's not satisfying. Wow. She has completely flipped the script on what the word desirable even means. And poof, just like that, Māra is gone. He can't get any traction because she sees right through his game. And this right here sets the pattern for every single one of these stories. The key takeaway is simple. Recognize the illusion, and it completely loses its power over you. Okay, so when tempting the senses doesn't work, Māra gets personal. He gets nasty. He switches from these broad, general temptations to really sharp, psychological attacks that target your deepest insecurities, your identity, even your past traumas. Let's check out the next encounter.
So he goes to the nun Sama, and he hits her with this incredibly misogynistic insult. See, two-finger wisdom was this old derogatory phrase that meant women were only smart enough to tell if rice was cooked by pinching it. He's attacking the very core of who she is, telling her point blank that because she's a woman, she is just not capable of reaching enlightenment. And Soma's comeback is just surgical. It's perfect. She basically asks, what on earth does being a woman have to do with anything when the mind is focused and clear? With one question, she just dismantles his entire argument. Gender, labels, identity, all of it is totally irrelevant. The only thing that matters is the quality of your mind.
And you gotta see, Māra is a smart opponent. He customizes his attacks. Take the nun Kisagami, who had tragically lost her child. He doesn't use misogyny with her. No, he goes for the old wound. He taunts her about sitting alone with a tearful face, trying to trigger all that old grief. In every case, he finds the unique vulnerability and just presses on it. But his most subtle and, honestly, most clever attack is what I'd call the philosophical trap. So, when desire and insults don't work, he tries to tangle the nuns up in these big, intellectual knots, asking impossible questions to create confusion. He comes up to the nun Vajira and asks this super deep-sounding question. Who created you? Where is your maker? Now, this is a classic trap. It's designed to get her searching for some permanent, unchanging self or a creator god. It's a loaded question. Any direct answer would be the wrong one.
But Vajira is way too smart for that. Instead of answering the question, she deconstructs the question itself, using one of the most famous analogies in all of Buddhism. She points out that a chariot isn't really a single thing. It's just a word we use for a bunch of parts. You take away the wheels, the axle, the frame, And, well, where's the chariot?
And here it is, the masterstroke. She applies that exact same logic to herself. A being, she says, is just a convenient name we give to a collection of constantly changing parts, body, feelings, thoughts. There's no permanent being to be found. By showing that his question was based on a false idea, she doesn't even have to answer it. It's absolutely genius.
And for the last time in our explainer today, Māra is just left speechless. You can't trap a mind that refuses to get caught in your faulty logic. In the face of that kind of clarity, he just dissolves.
So, let's zoom out. What's the big lesson from all 10 of these encounters? What was the secret weapon that every single one of these nuns used to beat their inner adversary? It wasn't magic, it wasn't some divine power, it was a clear, practical, and repeatable strategy. Let's just call it the Bhikkhuni's playbook. It's a 4-step process. Step 1, recognize. Every nun immediately thinks, "Ah, I see you, Māra." They label the distraction. Step 2, stay mindful. They don't get swept away by the thought or the feeling. Step 3, apply wisdom. They use their insight to see the temptation or the insult for the empty illusion it really is. And finally, step 4, let go. Once they've seen through it, they just release it, and it vanishes all on its own. You see, these aren't just cool old stories. They're a training manual for your own mind. The nuns show us that freedom isn't about never having a bad thought or a temptation. It's about learning to see them clearly so they don't control you. And that brings us to the final question for you. The nuns learned to recognize their Māra. Can you learn to recognize yours?